Okay, let's now go back to our editor. And if we open our slider, this is what we're going to be working with now. You can see we obviously hard-coded all these images, but let's say with the time we want to have a whole bunch more. What we're gonna do, we're gonna have to copy this block, paste it under, update the image name, and so on. Well, that's not quite the best way when you actually can code things using things like array and then loop through them. So we are going to remove the second and third image, and we're only going to leave one block here. What I'm going to do next is go back to our functions.php file, which you obviously will find inside of the includes directory. And what I'm going to do is create two functions. First function will basically return the path to the slider images directory. So slider dir for directory. And what we're going, again, these spaces. Okay, and what we're going to be doing here is return in between a double single quotes /images /slider, and then let's append / at the end as well. So if we go to our images and slider, this is where our images are stored. So this is basically the path to the directory where we are keeping our images. Make sure that if you have different naming, obviously reflect it within this path. Okay, next function will be called get slides. There we go. And it won't take any arguments again, and I'm again creating the spaces, and we are returning the array of items. First of all, the first item, and again it's going to be an array as well, because it's going to have a file name plus the caption which we want to use for the alt attribute. So it's going to be an array of arrays, in other words. So the first index in this subarray will be file, which will tell us what file are we actually interested in. And to do this, we are going to use the slider dir concatenated with the file name. So it's going to be o1.jpg. So now this is one of the ways we can actually do it. But do we really want to copy this slide dir all the time within this array for every single item? Probably not the best way of doing it. So let's remove it. We're only gonna have a file name, nothing else. And then for the caption, we are going to just put some caption, say shopping trip for the first one. And then I'm going to duplicate this entire array item twice. Obviously make sure that you have commas after each one, because items in the array are separated by commas. There we go. So for the second, we are going to have obviously JPEG2, which is this one, o2.jpg. And for the caption, I want juicy pear, for instance. And then the third one, which will have a caption of basket full of fruits. And again, obviously make sure that it works with your project. Put here whatever you feel is relevant. Okay, so we've got all slides, array which returns all slides, and then we have function which returns array with all slides, obviously, and then we have a slider directory function which returns the path to the slider directory where we store all the images. So now let's go back to the slider. What we're going to do next, before the section, we are going to open and close PHP tag. So we create the PHP section here, and what I'm going to do is first create the variable slides and get all the slides using get slides function. So now this slides contains the array of all these arrays with the slide attributes like file name and the caption. So next thing I'm going to do is check if empty slides. If there's nothing in this array, then simply return null. And this file will terminate here. If we don't have anything in this array, then that's all we're going to get. It's never going to get to this section because return statement terminates the existing file, the execution of the existing file, as you may remember. So if it's empty, return null, and obviously that's going to be it for this slider.php file. But if we have some items, then what we want to do is obviously display this section, div slider, and we want to start looping through this array. So for each slides as slide. And now we're going to open curly bracket and close the PHP tag. So question mark and right angle tag. And after this div with the slide, the closing one, we are going to close the PHP tag basically with the curly bracket. So only this. So we've got for each, and inside of the for each statement, I'm just going to indent it so that it's easier to read. We have this slide. So now if I save it, we're pretty much there. The only thing we need to do now, and I'm going to put all these attributes on new line, because obviously HTML as well as PHP doesn't care about spaces or new lines. So we can have these attributes each on its own line. What we are going to do next is to replace the source with opening PHP tag, echo, slide, because we are going through the slide, through a single slide now, we're inside of the loop. And what we are going to do, because it's an array, we are going to get the file index. So whatever's associated with this file index inside of this array, obviously, which is going to return the name of the file. And again, the name of the file, not the file with the path, which is what we need. So now that we know this, let's quickly use this slider dir function, which is what we've removed from the path originally from this array, and concatenate it together. So now we only have to put this function in one place rather than actually going through this array, and every single file index would have to have this function prepended. Because in a slider we're working on a loop, it's easier to obviously put it in just one place, and that's going to do the trick as well. Now for the alt tag, however, we are going to use again another echo, and it's going to be slide, and we're looking for the caption index. And that's pretty much everything. So file name will be concatenated with the directory, and then for the caption, that's what we're going to return if we go back here for the alt attribute. So if we now save it all, preview everything in the browser, refresh the home page, and as you can see, it still works. So we have a first image. In a moment, it's going to fade through to the next one, and the same for the last image after a few seconds. There we go. And if we preview the page source, you'll see that that's exactly, if we scroll down to the slider, that's exactly what we're getting. So you can see dynamically generated slider using the array.